if there was one candidate I felt who would be capable of continuing good governance as a philosopher, a political philosophy, and making sure that no one is left behind, that iaangat ang buhay ng tao, it's Leni.
Edwin Lacierda is a lawyer and a technology entrepreneur who served as the presidential spokesperson of the late Philippine President Benigno Aquino III from 2010 to 2016. In this episode, he shares his thoughts on what makes a presidential campaign effective and some never-before-heard stories about VP Leni's political journey. A lot of us are busy ngayon pong election season. We're curious to know, sir, ano po ang typical day ninyo at ano po ang pinakakabalahan nyo these days?
I'm semi-retired, so medyo busy tayo sa campaign, helping out and talking to some of the people in the campaign and really just monitoring what's going on and hoping that the numbers will improve and then we get news and we watch the YouTube, mga rallies ni VP Leni. It's very, very encouraging. So, but basically it's, and then work comes around, may mga consultations, and then, but fundamentally, talagang nag-devote tayo ng time for the campaign kasi this is really kumbaga, an existential battle for our country diba? So it's really important for all of us, especially we're buoyed up with the fact that a lot of the youth sector are very, very active now. I mean, it's not like several years ago or during the midterm elections sa medyo may passivity. Ngayon talaga buhay na buhay ang mga youth, no? So it's something different from the other elections that we've seen.
I definitely agree with you, sir, that this is really a very crucial election. A lot of us feel that way as well. And many of us who aren't as political before are really going out of our comfort zones and talking to people
Right.
face to face and taking time out of our busy schedules. So, sir, you became a household name when you became the presidential spokesperson of the late President Noynoy Aquino. In a lot of ways, medyo similar yung naging election season noong 2010 compared with the way VP Leni's campaign is going right now. Can you give us, sir, a brief snapshot of your journey starting in 2010 during Pinoy's campaign until you became a spokesperson?
Okay. The fundamental thing during 2009 yun So the 2009, there are differences between now and between the present election and the 2010 election. So for one thing, during that time, we were up against a president whose numbers were very low. And I'm referring to former President GMA, where because of the MBNZTE scandal, maybe it's something that people are not familiar with, that her administration was enveloped in so many scandals. One of them, which was the telco scandal, so NBNZTE. So this one really just was so widespread, and that was where I met the whistleblower of NBNZTE scandal, Jun Losada, and I became his counsel before the Senate. And then and that's one big difference. So the difference now is President Duterte does still have relatively high numbers, and so he is more or less detached from the campaign because he does not have any, in Tagalog wala siyang manok. Unlike in GMA's time, her manok then was Gibo Teodoro. So and the other thing that was really very crucial was when the mom of Pinoy passed away in 2009. She's former President Corazon Aquino, who we all loved, no? So she was very responsible for the People Power Revolution. I mean, was very instrumental because she was our inspiration. That's the reason why. And she fought against the former President Ferdinand Marcos, no? FM. And at the time, it was really so bad. And I was still a law student, first-year law student then. And we all went to EDSA, and it was really a huge showing, huge disapproval on what was going on. And so everybody, when Cardinal Sin called us all to support si Defense Minister Juan Ponce Enrile and si Fidel Ramos, we all went, and that resulted to the People Power Revolution, which changed the government, which allowed Cory to become president. So in 2009, she passed away. But in the course between 1992 when she retired to 2009, somehow people felt that people power revolution was no longer relevant. I mean, we were living in a democracy, and people like you, Erwin, who never experienced martial law, who never experienced the widespread corruption at that time, the cronyism that pervaded the business environment, felt that everything was doing well during these years. No? And so the relevance of guarding our democracy, the importance of protecting our rights, being conscious of our rights, and it's a daily battle to make sure that freedom of expression is protected, as it was exercised post 1986. It was something we took for granted, and whenever some a freedom is took for granted, then you begin to see slowly, if there's a strong man, the narrowing of the democratic space. And so when she passed away, there was a sudden resurgence of what happened during our ideals in 2009. I mean, there was a lady who fought for us, who fought for the ideals of democracy, who fought against the dictatorship. And then we suddenly felt a longingness and a nostalgia for good governance, because at that time, really, the numbers of approval ratings of President Gloria Arroyo was really down in the dumps. And so when she passed away, there was a strong call to find another Aquino, because she represented democracy. She fought for democracy. And there was Noynoy Aquino, senator, who wasn't really vying to run. But there was a call for another Aquino. And so he decided to run. And that's where we started. He asked me to be, there was a choice, there was a selection process in who to be the spokesperson. I only met Noynoy Aquino in several times in the Senate, several times, but I went through the process of being vetted. And since at that time in 2009, I was already a legal commentator for ANC, for a number of legal commentators on TV. So I was guesting around. In fact, I guested with Pinoy at the time, Senator Aquino, in one show in ANC. And so somebody suggested my name, went to the process. I had to do a video, parang a video show, a video clips of what I did to show to Pinoy at the time. So finally, I met with him, sat with him, and then we just, sige, go, ikaw na. So that started it during the campaign. Iba yung campaign noon, wala pang masyadong social media. Facebook was just starting. You haven't weaponized yet Facebook. It was just building the Facebook. Paramihan lang ng followers. 100,000 was already huge. Imagine mo. Eh nung dito ngayon, millions of followers on Facebook. No? But we were the first to reach, for instance, if I recall, 100,000 followers. And the main kalaban was Senator Manny Villar. So yun. Now, so we went through the election. At that time, lamang si Pinoy. When he declared, he immediately became front runner. Prior to that, it was Manny Villar who was a front runner. But when Pinoy declared and decided to run, the first survey that came out in Pulse Asia, he was already the front runner. He was front runner, tuloy-tuloy ay mataas siya, but bumagsak in January. Naging 37-35. He was at 49. Senator Villar was in the 20s. Pero nagdikit siya, imagine mo. So, what I'm saying, yung ngayon nakikita natin, pwedeng dumikit. So, dumikit yon, and then, swerte naman, we found the tagline that would be up for Pinoy. First it was kung walang korap walang mahirap, then it became daang matuwid. So, and then, tuloy-tuloy na yun. By April, we knew that he was going to win na. So, it was a matter of gaano kalaki ang lamang. Eventually, we won. And the conventional wisdom, actually, just for you guys to know, is if you hit a 39%, presidente ka na. That's the because GMA, President Duterte, President Erap, hit 39%. Fidel Ramos was lower because there were so many candidates. In this situation, it's possible that if Bongbong would maintain his ratings, he would be a majority president or more than 50%. But since we're working hard at making sure that our candidate goes up, and we see the surge, we see the momentum now, it's possible that we can narrow the lead and even hopefully do a miracle on May 9. But Pinoy won the elections at 42%. So he holds the record of winning the elections at 42%, so far the highest. We don't know if it will be broken or it will be maintained, but that's where we are. Now here, dito naman, maraming volunteers by the way nung panahon ni Pinoy, but ang diferensya rito, ang volunteers ngayon, they're spending their own money. There were all the TARPs, all the it's as if it's volunteer driven talaga. It's a people's campaign, as they say. So people are thinking, what do we say? What do we do? What do we print? So you don't wait for central campaign to come up with the material. And lately lang nagkaroon na ng maayos na yung graphics, yung design, meron nang galing sa central. But it's basically a people's campaign. So that's where we are right now. So yung enthusiasm, and also the one phenomenal is the national house-to-house campaign. You do house-to-house in the local. That's standard. But right now, you do a lot of house-to-house campaign national. So that's something that's new. Also, the other thing, and this is more on the politicians, whether they will deliver or not. That's another thing. Ito yung command votes. Yung mga politiko, normally at this time, ganun kalaki lamang, wala na. Alam mo na yung mga politiko, mag-iiba na yan eh. Tatawid na yan. Dito, yung mga politiko, kahit na malaki ang lamang ni BBM, humahabol pa lang si VP, tumatalon yung mga kandidato kay Leni. So it's something na, so you're asking yourself, ano ba nangyayari dito sa mga politika na to? What are they seeing which doesn't go, which goes against the grain of conventional political wisdom, where at this point, malaki na yan, sa ano na tayo, sa lamang na sa survey. We're not seeing that right now. I mean, we're seeing more and more politicians still going for Leni. So what's the secret in this 2022 campaign? We'll see by May 9. So, by the way, whoever is, wag na tayo magtanong kung kaya pa ba. The only survey that matters is on election day. So, May 9 pa yan. So meron pa tayong, I think today is the last day of your campaign is May 7. So we have 27 days to go. Still a long way. Kaya pa.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for saying that. Actually, I was also listening to a Rappler interview with Congressman Pantaleon Alvarez, who recently endorsed VP Leni, and he said that 1 month is still too long, and even 1 week is still too long. Parang a lot can happen overnight. So we're still holding out hope that VP Leni will carry out a miracle in May 9. And listening to you, sir, no, parang you came full circle from participating in EDSA Revolution in 86, then participating also in the elections that catapulted Pino into the presidency. And also, during that time, the campaign was up against an unpopular president who was GMA. And today, GMA is playing a very vital role in the election since she is also endorsing BBM and Sara. So, there's really a lot of full circle moments happening, sir, no? The next question I was gonna ask, sir, no, you mentioned a while ago that you also played a part in Pinoy's decision to choose VP Leni. Actually, sir, the Kay Leni Tayo song was born in August 2021 after music producer Nolan Bernardino saw Let Leni Lead stickers in your Facebook post. What does this election mean to you, sir, and what is the role that you've played in VP Leni's journey towards running for the presidency?
Let me start from the very start. I first met Leni when we were visiting the wake of the father of the passing of Secretary Laila de Lima's dad in the Bicol region. We went to Iriga. But Jesse was in Jesse Robredo, the late husband of Leni. We picked them up in Camarines Sur. And so sumabay sila Jesse at nandoon si Leni. First time we saw Leni, sumabay si Leni. At that time, Leni, I think, was applying only to be a judge, RTC judge in the province. She wanted to be a judge. No? So I think, if I recall, mukhang mag-JBC siya. She was going to go through Judicial and Bar Council. She submitted her name to be appointed, nominated, but you have to go through the process because it wasn't with the executive branch. The president will just appoint the candidate proposed by the JBC. But that was the first time we met him. And then when Jesse passed away, we held several days of mourning for Jesse, got to know Leni and the daughters more. And then when she decided to run for Congress in 2013, wala siyang comms person. So sabi ko, bibigyan kita ng comms person na magaling. So I introduced someone to her, and then she ran the campaign of Leni. But in 2015, remember there was the discussion of whether should Mar was the candidate of the administration, at least he was a putative candidate then. So, and Grace Poe was also running because Grace's numbers were higher than Mar at that time. But we were suggested the two of them should work together because at the time, mahahati ang votes nila. And they belong to the same party because, by the way, it was Mar who told Grace, suggested to the president, let's get Grace to run for senatorial in 2013. So that's why Grace was part of the senatorial campaign in 2013. So in 2015, there was a suggestion for Grace and Mar to unite. Mar being the presidential candidate, and hopefully Grace will abide to be the vice presidential candidate. Umayaw si Grace. Sabi ni Cheese na no, she's going to run, and he was going to be the vice presidential candidate. So naghati na. So I remember one particular Sunday, I told them there was a meeting, and I said, let's stop, because we were waiting, hopefully magsagot siya, pumayag siya, and said, well, let's stop marching to the beat of their drums. I suggest we get another candidate. And so they suggested, sino ang kandidato natin? And I said, si Leni Robredo. O bakit si Leni? Wala siyang kilala, walang may kilala sa kanya. First time congressperson pa lang siya. Sabi ko, look, the one that you want to be your vice president should mirror the ideals at that time, good governance. We were really on the path of good governance. Because why? Because an institution, a democratic institution, to take root would normally take 10 years. Because the mindset has to change, a lot of things have to change. Noy only had 6 years. We need to have another 6 years to make sure that the democratic institutions continue. But at the same time, even if you have a president who mirrors the ideals of who's aligned with the ideals of Pinoy, we should also have a vice presidential candidate to align itself also with good governance. And who's a person who can do that? I said, si Leni Robredo. Because alam natin kung saan nanggaling si Leni. And by the way, the one thing that people don't know, the best politician in a household is not the candidate itself, but the wife. Because the wife who stays in the kitchen knows the logistics. Pag kandidato ka, you're focused on talking to someone, but the wife knows anong kailangan, the logistics. And what they say is, I don't know, I forgot the complete saying, but the infantry wins battles, logistics wins the war. So it's a military saying, but if you know logistics, parang yung problema sa Russia again, sira ang logistics nila, that's why they failed. So the wife knows the logistics, and so as a politician's wife is one of the best politicians. That's something that people don't know. And I felt that she's been exposed to the campaigns of Jesse as mayor. She's aligned with Jesse's ideas of transparency and good governance. Even if we don't deal with Leni, we get Leni. So maraming tanong, bakit hindi si Duterte, bakit hindi si Vilma Santos, bakit hindi si lahat yan sinagot ko. At the end of the day, at the end of that whole discussion, Mar asked me, okay, talk to Leni. So I was the first one to talk to Leni. And I told Leni, we're looking at you as a vice presidential candidate of Mar. And so but she went through the whole process, went through talking with the children. It was very painful for her because she didn't really want to, as it is already, she didn't want to run for congresswoman, but she was forced to. Now she's being asked to run for vice president. She didn't want to either. But at the end of the day, the call of duty was there. And so she ran, of course, with the resources of the administration. There's a big machine. We were the administration candidates, so there was an added advantage here. But eventually she won by over 200,000 votes, if I'm not mistaken. And she became the vice president. That's why every time that she sees me, she will tell people, yan po ang salarin. Ako may kasalanan kung bakit siya tumakbong vice president. But recently, I met with her in July. I told her, Ma'am, alam ko, and I didn't want to push her because I knew whenever she sees me, parang sabi ko sa kanya one time sa text, Ma'am, alam kong pinag-iisipan nyo, hindi ko kayo pipilitin na ginawa ko noong 2016, ng 2015. So until such time na you want or you're free, support ako anong decision nyo. But in July, I met her, last July. And this was a time when we were trying to, na sinong tatakbo, and Leni wasn't really keen on running. She was talking to Isko, Manny Pacquiao, Ping Lacson, and all that. So I met with her, sabi ko. And this was already after the death of Noy. Sorry, Erwin, ako madaldal ako. But
Sir, it's okay. Okay lang, sir.
yung ano doon, yung I met with her, and this was after the death of Noy. Sabi ko sa kanya, Ma'am, kayo ang kayo ang repository ng legacy ni Pinoy ngayon. Kayo ang magsusunod niya, whether you like it or not. Ang sabi niya, talagang ayaw talaga niyan tumakbo. Sabi ko na lang sa kanya, nakipag-bet ako sa kanya. Sige ma'am, your numbers right now in July was somewhere around 7 or 8% in Pulse Asia. By September, sabi ko, I will wage a campaign, I'll do a campaign, our own campaign, and if you reach 13% by September, viable kayo. I told her that. Kasama yung staff niya some of the staff in the office of the vice president were there in that meeting. I remember Frank Dillon was there in that meeting. So sabi ko, by September, if you 13%, you will be a viable candidate. By September, and this is by the way, first time I'm telling this to the public. By September, we had an embargoed survey, which is not the public survey that ran in Pulse Asia. At in September, the Pulse Asia embargoed question, you ask yourself, if there was di ba right, in September, wala pa nagdedeklara. Maraming listahan yan eh. Pero an embargoed question is where you identify the most likely people who will run. Dito sa grupo, sa listahan ito, which is very few, 5 or 6 if I recall, pang ilan si Leni. And she made 13%. Sabi ko, that was the time where, so in July it happened. In August, we started with 4 friends, we started Let Leni Lead. Yung Let Leni Lead campaign. So, because I saw this one person showed me a t-shirt, keep calm and let something lead. Let Leni lead. Sabi ko, let's use Let Leni lead because number one, my reasoning was very, very simple. From a comms point of view, Let Leni lead is easy to remember. Number one, it's alliterative, LLL. It easily rolls out in the tongue. Let Leni lead. Pangalawa, kahit naman siguro English yan, may intindihan ng tao yan. Kasi let, ano bang let? Ano ba ang Leni? Ano ba ang lead? Ang tawag natin sa Tagalog ng pinuno is also, we use leader. So, this is something that is so common, madaling maintindihan ng tao. So we started, the 5 of us, we started printing Let Leni Lead stickers. And then we did some small videos. It's 5 of us. And it started, then my idea then was, hindi tayo pwede mag-social media for now. Kasi wala tayong pondo, we will not go outside the echo chamber. Because you really need to have money to go out of the echo chamber. But we can do mag-ground war tayo. Let's print stickers, lagay natin sa kotse. And then, kung may makaibigan tayo, ilabas natin yung Let Leni Lead sa LED. Kung may mga kaibigan tayong willing to move. And so we did that. So yung stickers na one of them that came, and by the way, because of that, I learned how to do yung mga JRS Express, because they were asking for stickers all over the country. And that was just 5 of us. And Nolan Bernardino, who I've worked with him before, who was my friend, but I didn't recall that I met him. It was more of Abby who met him. Wrote to me and said, "Sir, what can I help you? I wanted to get stickers from you." Sabi ko, sige, and he offered, I have a production house and we compose songs. If you need any help, I'm offering to offer my services. And then texted back, Nolan, can you do a song for us? Yes, sir. Gumanon siya. So we met. 4 of us met together with Nika Del Rosario, the composer, and Nolan, and essentially told him, by the way, at that point, The thrust of the campaign at that time was, I don't know if you recall, Erwin, because it was Mama Leni.
Yes, yes, sir.
There was a Mama Leni campaign in July that time. I said, I think I'd like to project her differently because we are in a time of crisis. And in a time of crisis, we need a leader. And the leader archetype is the most powerful. I know for a fact that Lenny is a leader, except she's seen more as a mother. Nothing wrong with being a Mama Lenny, but my belief was exposed na siya as a mother and her numbers are not moving. That's why her numbers continued to be low. So I said, we'll do one, we will we will project her as a leader, and that's why it became Let Lenny Lead, because you need we're in a time of crisis. The pandemic was wreaking havoc on our lives, in the people's lives, and whether you like it or not, there appeared to be a vacuum in handling the COVID crisis. It was only Lenny do was very active. She seemed to know, at least she knew what needs to be done in the COVID pandemic. um, we also saw how she handled the drug issue when she was asked to be drug czar for I think a week or two, and because she was doing very well, she was taken out immediately. So you knew that she was a leader. So I said, we will project her because we believe her as a leader. That's why when we met with the Flip Music team, Nolan and Nika, simple lang sabi namin, gusto namin maangas yung kanta because kailangan natin i-project si Lenny as leader. Walang nakatingin sa kanya bilang pinuno eh. And I really told si Lenny when I met her, Mom, we need a leader. And we don't need a social worker. We need someone to lead us because there's a crisis and there's a vacuum in leadership, and nature abhors a vacuum. When nature abhors a vacuum, there's a vacuum, something fills it in. You can fill that gap. And so we use Let Lenny Lead. So we started, ang gusto namin maangas, and all the lyrics there are very up. Projected her. Someone mentioned from my team that pagdating sa bagyo, parati siyang nauuna. Di ba? And all those things that we told her, we shared to Nika and Nolan, this is the idea of leadership. Coming from our experience working in national government, we knew what a leader should be doing. And providentially, Nolan and Nika immediately got what we wanted. And I said, it has to be, since it's a political jingle, the refrain can be cut into 30 seconders. Kasi iniisip ko kaagad, ad to eh. Pwedeng gawing ad. So, yung jingle, if you see the refrain, you can cut it to 30 seconds. If you hear the rap, you can cut into 30 seconds. So that's the evolution of that song. And we launched it, kami lang. And then I got some people to put out an ad. That's why nag-radio ad kami, nag-digital ads kami, and you need to do that. You need to do radio and digital. Digital, you have to really mag-a-ad ka because otherwise you cannot go outside of the echo chamber. The challenge with Facebook, the challenge with social media is the issue of echo chamber. The question will always be, are we going out of our echo chamber? So that's a challenge. But if you do ads, siguradong lalabas because you can target them. Oh, I don't want, at the time, ayoko yung ad makikita ng Dilawan. I don't want a look-alike Dilawan to see that. Kumbinsido na yan. So we targeted anyone who was not Dilawan, who did not look like a Dilawan on the digital side. On the TV and radio side, on the radio side, we just put it out. Kasi pag radio, everybody listens to it, whether you're Dilawan, whatever your political affiliation is, maririnig mo. But because it was an earworm, people began to like that 30 seconds. Even if, I think Harry Roque mentioned it one time in his press briefing, na may kanta si na maganda and all that. It became an earworm, and we used that, and we put out only 4, kasi mahal ang TV. 4 ads lang in Provinciano. Yun lang. By the end of September, together with what the OVP team, some of the people from the volunteers from the OVP were doing, we were able to bring up the numbers to 13%. In Pulse it was 13%. In SWS it was 17%. From 11 in July in SWS, it became 17% in September of SWS. Somebody was tracking it, and we saw the numbers. So by the time there was a survey of SWS in October, it also shot up. So it was really there was momentum, and then a fantastic the declaration of VP Leni. So that started the surge, and now they're using it in the campaign rallies because it's really a phenomenon. It's the best political jingle, I think, better than I think I can safely say that it is better than Mambo Mambo Magsaysay. That was the best political jingle before, but I think now we've done so many translations. We're coming up with the one final translation within this month, maybe a week or two, and then that's it. I mean, the final translation will be the best translation apart from the original Tagalog, but it will be there. Everybody sings it, plays the piano with
Yes.
it. It became number one in iTunes. Now it's doing well in Spotify. And by the way,
Spotify.
they did kay Lenny tayo, libre yan ha. Sabi kasi, in-offer nyo free, sige, and it was offered for free. So, they're not benefiting from it. Ang dami na nga nilang gastos. But, and now they came up with another song, Rosas.
Yes,
But that's
Rosas.
where we are right now. So,
Yes.
but that's the power of the music, and people like it. So I'm glad people accept it. Even those people who are not pro Lenny found the song. It's a great converter. It's a great song for conversion. I've done FGDs on focus group discussions on Lenny time. It really converted a lot of people because we were doing FGDs for non-Lenny supporters. When we play it, it's so easy to convert because there's nothing negative. You don't hate other candidates. It's purely about Lenny, who she is, what her capabilities are, and also the music melody itself was very nakaka-LSS.
Agree, sir. And listening to you, sir, no, parang I'm so impressed na even though you're a lawyer, you're also very musically inclined and you're very well aware of how these songs work, 'di ba, in the campaign. And also, it's very inspiring to hear na you played a major role in VP Leni's journey towards the presidency. It's actually the first time that we've heard na you were actually the first one who vetted or who floated the idea of having VP Leni as Mar Rojas' running mate during the 2016 elections. Was there ever a time, sir? Actually, I was gonna ask nga, sir, if did you also consider other candidates like Isko Moreno or Ping Lacson? Pero parang since the beginning, your eyes were really set on VP Leni, no, sir?
Yes, because I remember in 2015 pala, nag-campaign pa ako na jump with Lenny. And that means it was a jump with Lenny. Take a picture of you jumping, jump with Lenny and all that. In 2022 this election, I never turned to anyone because hindi kasi coming from a background where we were with President Aquino, iba kasi yung we knew the standard of governance that and the difficulty. By the way, uh, someone told me, a former cabinet minister of GMA, who's a good friend of mine, and I asked him, kamusta ang private sector? Because we were about to leave the government. Sabi niya, Edwin, baliwal ang private sector. Ang mga problema sa gobyerno, ang laki-laki. Pagbalik mo sa private sector, kahit na sinong magaling mayaman na kliyente mo, baliwal ang mga problema nila. And it's true. When we were there, I would always look at the problems of government as it's like an iceberg. Only 10% is seen by the public. 90% is solved without the people knowing it. So the most major ones are really just too big, and that's seen by the public. And that's where the public knows what we are doing to solve a problem. But sa daming problema ng you need a president who really is on the job eh. And Pinoy, there was very low expectations on Pinoy when he became president. Kasi nga, walang experience and all that. We were called, in fact, the high school government, high school student council at the time. But we proved it otherwise. And so I knew that it was going to be a difficult task to be present. No commentary on the other candidates, except that I felt that if there was one candidate I felt who would be capable of continuing good governance as a philosopher, a political philosophy, and making sure that no one is left behind, that iaangat ang buhay ng tao, it's Leni. Because they see the same passion, the same rigor in making sure that people's lives will be better off when they leave it behind. Diba? So
Uh,
that's the philosophy of the president in Pinoy. I remember is we are leaving some we leave them with their lives better than they were before. Ganun yung ano. Ganun. And that's the reason why, and as a commentary, we were saying we were promising better economic ano, but in 2016 nag-iba na yung concern eh. Hindi na problema ng sikmura masyado ang concern. Kasi nga, totoo naman, gumanda kasi ang buhay na rin eh. Ang concern ngayon was peace and order. So nag-iba at plus sinabi, syempre may ginawang sinabi ang Duterte side, kaya nag-iba rin yung priority. So but right now, balik tayo sa sikmura ulit. Sino makakaangat ng buhay ng taong bayan? Kundi sa tingin ko, si VP Leni.
Agree, sir. And the pandemic also has shown, di ba, that VP Leni is really parang the best candidate in terms of helping those in need with a very limited budget. Sir, it's very interesting that you mentioned no kanina na parang you wanted VP Leni to project a maangas na image. Pero in reality, sir, parang
No,
in
I
the
mean, sorry.
past,
Maangas yung kanta.
maangas yung kanta.
Sorry, yung
Okay, okay.
kanta. We want
Yung kanta.
yung kanta yung maangas. Hindi pero kasi may leadership quality talaga si Leni.
Okay, okay. Pero kasi
Yun.
sir, very interesting na parang medyo kinikriticize yung parang messaging ng campaign ni VP Leni na parang kasi there's still a culture of misogyny in our country, di ba? Na parang babae, mahina, ganyan. And VP Leni kasi she's not the type na parang firebrand o parang like kasi na Duterte. VP Leni kasi parang kalmado, like parang mga nanay talaga. So sir, paano po na-address ng campaign yung ganitong commentary or ganitong criticism?
You know, I'm looking at the surveys. Hindi talaga major reason yung babae siya. Misogyny was not the issue. You know, I was telling people, sabi ko, I have no problem with you promoting the womanhood of VP Leni because of course, she would also say that last man standing is a woman and all that.
Yes.
But the reality of it all is, hindi problema ang babaeng presidente sa Pilipinas kasi dalawa na ang presidente nating babae. I was telling them, that's not a big issue in the hierarchy of negative attributes because you really track what are the negative attributes that people who don't want to vote for someone are. So you track it, third or fourth lang ang misogyny. In fact, in the last survey, bumagsak pa yung misogyny. So there's really no issue on the misogyny on pagkababae ni VP Leni kasi si GMA ang kailangan ng tao ang hinahanap ng taong bayan is tapang, strong man.
Yes.
Because traditionally we've seen surveys, traditionally we want a president who is a strong man. There will be aberrations, no? In fact, Pinoy didn't appear to be strong. It wasn't really his strong but later we saw that he was strong also, but the general consensus is Filipinos would always look for someone he's a strong man. It started with President Quezon down the line. So, but hindi, yung kailangan ng tao makita, meron kang grit and determination. You know where you are going to lead us. You know where you're going to bring us. Yun lang naman ang kailangan ng tao eh. Hindi yung kailangan porke nababae ka, hindi ka iboboto. Si GMA nga, look at the tagline of GMA in 2004. Strong Republic. Her tagline was Strong Republic. So people never viewed GMA as weak because she exuded strength. And look, babae si Leni, baliwala yan, but people are milling towards her rallies. I mean, you've got 200,000 strong in Pampanga. Even
Yes.
in the best days of then candidate Duterte, he could not muster 200,000 people attending the rally. It's phenomenal that the way that she has commanded people and egged them to come out of your shells and just see me in my rallies. It's a show of strength. It's a show of force, not only of the supporters, but also a show of force of her leadership that I can bring out. Parang imagine mo someone like a prophet leading them out of the darkness. Ba? Parang leading out to the Red Sea, parang si Moses. And the kind of, you can see that in the number of people in the drone shots, you can see it eh. So that it has nothing. Ako lang personally, this has nothing to do with being a woman. We always, and I've always told the campaign, project her as a leader because that's the thing that people are looking for. And when you project her as a leader, alam nila ang Pilipino they want to be assured I'll be taken care of. And this is where nga yung patronage, yung very patriarchal, very top down yung ano natin, yung attitude natin mga botante na we want the patron to take care of us. I mean, as much as we would like to do people empowerment, and that should be continued, people still want to be assured that he's gonna take care of us. And a leader can exudes that. And Leni exuded that right now. For the past several rallies, you could see her commanding the presence of so many thousands of people in the rallies. And by the way, magsasabihin nila, paano masasabing bayaran sila? Eh wala naman tayong politikong kumakampi sa atin eh. How can you pay 35,000 with 500 pesos? My God, that's not possible. Kusa yan. Talagang hindi hinahakot yan. They want to see Leni because the first time they're seeing hope in the country after what they went through the COVID pandemic. Diba?
We were talking, sir, with someone weeks ago. She was our guest. And she said that VP Leni's campaign, parang it's redefining our political culture. Kasi what you said nga, sir, diba? Filipinos usually want a strong man. Pero VP Leni, yung campaign niya kasi parang radical love, ganyan, angat buhay lahat. Parang centrality is love. So medyo kakaiba siya. And it's very encouraging na parang Filipinos are starting to embrace this kind of imaging for a presidential candidate. Was there ever a point in the campaign, especially when the survey numbers were low, parang did you think na may pag-asa pa ba? When was the point, sir, na you thought na may pag-asang manalo?
You know, you will be as a believer kasi in surveys because by the way, we have always used Pulse Asia and SWS as part of our in government kasi you need to also track how are the people doing, and you cannot track it just by anecdotally. You really have to have benchmarks, qualitative and both quantitative and qualitative benchmarking of where we are right now with the people. And so we've used, and that's why I've never doubted Pulse Asia in the way that they conducted survey. They're very, very professional. In fact, they've been accused both by the Dilawans and by everyone else na bayaran kayo. I mean, having said that, I saw the numbers of Leni and it was quite bothersome because it was medyo flat during the last quarter of December. The beginnings of the stirring of possibility that her numbers would go was on the people coming out extemporaneously on their organically. You saw that, for instance, in the rally, in the first big rally was done in Iloilo City in Jerry Treñas' jurisdiction, Mayor Jerry of Iloilo City. And that was by and large a yellow country at that time because Mar in 2016 won in Western Visayas. Western Visayas is fundamentally a Dilawan country. Frank Drilon's there, Jerry Treñas, and Simar are part of Western Visayas. But even in spite of the fact that it's considered yellow, it still produced 35,000 strong or 40,000 strong people who attended. So there's really a hunger for good governance. There's really a hunger for change talaga. I'm not sure if it's going to change the political culture because it might be peculiar to Leni because of her unique messaging of radical love. Nobody has told, no campaign has ever said, mag-radical love tayo. So from the outset already, but it is a very difficult thing to do because, and that was really the hangover of the Dilawans who eventually became Pinks because 6 years binabanata ng mga Dilawan. Di ba? You were oppressed by the trolls and you couldn't really just and then suddenly pwede na, ang lakas ng kandidato, ang ganda ng declaration, tapos sasabihin niya mag-radical love tayo. Teka muna, panahon ko nang bumanat, and yet ang tinawag ni Len is radical love. So I'm not sure if it's going to overhaul the political culture or campaign culture because it might be unique to VP Leni herself. If it does, well and good. By the way, let me just digress a bit. I was just talking to a respected journalist this morning, and she told me one thing. Iba na ang youth ngayon. Dati yung youth sila, they would attend rallies, nagagalit, nagmumura. Dito daw, especially daw dito sa Pasig Laban, the youth were there, sumisigaw, and they were happy. And they just wanted to show their aspirations. Totally different from their generation. These are the baby boomers like me, but this journalist was just telling me the difference of what they were then and what the people are now. So maybe there's hope, because if you guys are looking at it from a different perspective, and maybe that can change, because change can come from the ground up, bottom up yan eh. So that's a very, and also this campaign was really volunteer driven. Fundamentally, people's campaign. Leni Lead was not part of the campaign. What is not part of the central campaign? So everything was all. Well, I was a volunteer when I did that. When I told Leni, I'm going to convince you to run. So, but it's really, there's a whole change in an overhauling of how we view conventional political campaigns. And will it continue? It depends maybe on if we have another Leni Robredo. Plus also, I think it's natakot din ang taong bayan because of ang kalaban niya is anak ng isang dating
Yes.
diktador. And so
Yes, sir.
it's a combination of factors, di ba? So people who are, and then you see also the kind of disinformation that's being floated around, being offered, and so you get so frustrated, and so people are just really just coming up. No, it's our obligation to tell the truth on our own. We don't have to wait for the central campaign to do that. That's why House to House has attracted so many people on their own, because the campaign doesn't have that much money. I can guarantee you that.
I was also in Pasig Laban, and it was really dominated by the youth. And I agree with you, sir. Parang party nga yung atmosphere na we were singing very loudly. Kaya nga even Ariana Grande posted in her Instagram stories, di ba? We were
Right.
singing Break Free. So yun nga, sir, di ba? The youth is really carrying out hope in this election season. We've been very active. Pero in the latest Pulse Asia survey, actually, sir, Bongbong Marcos is still the top candidate among Gen Z and millennials. And it was also noted that VP Leni, parang siya yung pinaka-affected or pinaka-negatively affected ng fake news. And on the other side, si BBM naman yung pinaka-nagbe-benefit from fake news. Pinoy himself was very vilified even after his death. Tapos parang a lot of people are saying na parang nakulangan sa pagpo-push back against fake news. Kasi a lot of us were quiet, parang hinahayaan lang. So sir, paano po dapat ba
Right.
i-address itong disinformation and historical revisionism, especially sa social media?
No, but you're doing it right now. And by the way, in the last survey of Pulse Asia, the Gen Z, from 18, they went up to 30. Ang laki ng jump nila. So, and then the millennials about 8 points from 10 to 18. No? So, there's a big realization that you're doing it already, Erwin. No? The people are now being awakened by what's true and what's not true. But and this is I was telling people that while we have an obligation to tell the truth, we have to express in a manner that does not marginalize the supporters. Hindi ka pwedeng kausapin at sinasabing ang bobo nyo, ba't kayo nakikinig sa ganyan? Ba't kayo naniniwala sa ganyan? Because they're also victims. These people who believe in fake news are all victims of so many years of disinformation and misinformation. I'll tell you, in 2010, when we just came on board in the Aquino government, in the government, Manolo Quezon, our undersecretary for PDCSPO, came up to me and said, Edwin, did you look at this YouTube video? It was telling a different story of the Marcoses. And at that time, syempre, although 2010 yun, 1986 yun, dahil I knew what it was before. Sabi ko, sino bang siraulo maniniwala dyan? I mean, and which is in 2010, ano? Sabi ko, nobody would believe that. I mean, isn't that obvious? That's fake. And then I dismissed it. Because sabi ko, hindi ko lang maniniwala dyan. But apparently, it has been ongoing. And they have quietly, under the radar, plodded on and created more videos of untruth. And by then we're too late because at the time we were so busy in government. At the time also Facebook was reached out to us. They were going to democratize Facebook. And the campaign then was they're going to be an agent for change, good change. We were so naive to think that it was going to be an agent for change who knew that it was going to be weaponized for disinformation and black propaganda. And that's why social media is a very unchecked, it's very a dangerous tool for disinformation. The reason why there's polarization in the U.S. political system, there's polarization here. We can't seem to be talking to each other, you know. So ano lang yan, talagang we don't seem to be communicating. We seem to belong to two ibang ang linya natin eh. We're not talking with the same source of truth. And that's why it's really very unfortunate that that's what's happening right now. But the efforts are there. There's a continuous stream of videos that are writing those untruths, except that it must not insult the voters because politics at the very end is a politics is addition. Talagang kailangan natin ng dagdag sa boto natin. We cannot be talking to the choir, Erwin. Ang kwento namin diyan, kumbinsido ka na. Hindi ka na kahit na hindi ko makita 'yan, I was telling someone nga eh, why am I seeing the Leni ads on YouTube? Kumbinsido na ako kahit hindi ko makita 'yan, iboboto ko si Leni. Sabi ko, change your targeting of your ads because I am seeing it and every time I see it, I get pissed because you're wasting money on me. Every time you see a Lenny ad, you should be angry because it's not for you. It's for those people who are not Lenny supporters and you can target it eh. Ang dali target ang mga non-Lenny supporters. But anyway, but you're doing it, Erwin. That's importante tuloy-tuloy lang speaking the truth.
Yes, sir. Agree.
And it's working. Dumadami na rin.
Yes, sir. And yung algorithm then kasi sir ng social media parang 'di ba it gives you more of what you want or parang what you are inclined to like. For example, if I'm a BBM
Yes,
supporter, most of the
exactly.
content I will see are BBM pro BBM content. Sir, curious lang ako no. Since 2010 pa lang you saw already parang historical revisionism on YouTube and you dismissed it. And there are a lot of reports na the Marcos family has been or had been investing in rehabilitation of the Marcos image as early as decades ago. So, sir, did the administration of Pinoy or did you yourself anticipate na Bongbong will someday run for president and parang nakita nyo na ba or nahalata nyo na ba na nagsa-start na yung propaganda nila?
Yung kasi we dismissed it because remember Imelda ran for president eh, and she lost. And we at that point because Danding also ran. Kaya naghati yung loyalist votes eh. Danding Coango also ran. But then we just dismissed, hindi pa kasi it's too little did we think na hindi naalala pa ng tao. Pero at that point kung siguro hindi tumakbo si Danding, baka maging presidente rin si Imelda eh. But even then after that, parang naging tahimik din ang mga Marcoses. Bongbong stayed in Ilocos Norte as governor. Amy wasn't then a senator, I think. So naglaylo sila. So there was really they did it very quietly. I'll tell you something. So recently, before sometime in July, so everybody was crowing about ang galing-galing ng mga videos ni Bongbong Marcos. So ako, I decided, manood nga ako. And then I watched this particular video na dumalaw si Bongbong sa Malacañang Museum. Dumalaw siya sa palasyo. You know what? Tama sila eh. Ang linis-linis ng video, kung hindi mo kilala ang mga Marcoses, mabibighani ka talaga. It was really a very professionally done video. And it's something that they really might have planned before. I don't know they're claiming that they used Cambridge Analytica to do it, but well, apparently it did work. I mean, people just got, and that time we were so busy with we were so busy with government. I mean, the problems of the country were there. So that was the least of our concerns. And in the midterms naman, si 9 out of 12 ng administration candidates nanalo. So malakas pa naman, but it was only in 2016 na then we realized the potency of Senator Bongbong Marcos na imagine mo, ang lamang noon, leading up to the May elections at that time, was Alan and Cheese. Cheese ang malakas. And si Alan, silang dalawa naglalaban. Third lang yata si Bongbong and then fourth si Leni. So, eventually, nausan ni Leni silang lahat. But si Bongbong was also phenomenal. His rise was phenomenal. And also, lesson learned din kay Bongbong. That's why he never participated anymore in the debates because of what happened to him in 2016. But there are a number of lessons learned, which we also, and unfortunately for Leni, it was another 6 years of pangbubugbog sa kanya on fake news. While Bongbong was quietly improving his image, Leni was being bombarded with a lot of fake news from this administration and from the trolls. And so you saw a commensurate rise of Bongbong quietly and a commensurate drop of Leni in trust ratings. And that was really bad. Because that showed the power of social media and the loss of traditional media as a source of truth. Like in the US, people saw traditional media as a purveyor. It's not the only source of truth now. So that's a challenge for us, and so many challenges that we need to hurdle. And part of that is really just correcting how we view social media. There has to be some regulation towards content on social media because it's really just pervasive and perfidious in terms of being weaponized.
Definitely agree, sir. And social media really played a key role in 2016 elections, di ba, sir? And even until now. I guess, sir, for our last question, medyo crunch time na ito. So, ano pa, sir, yung mga nilook forward mo? And ano pa yung mga changes na gusto mong makita sa kampanya na ito sa nalalapit na election at sa natitirang panahon bago mag-election?
Yung pagbaba ni Leni sa ground, uh, it's phenomenal. You know why? Dati kasi pag bumababa ka sa ground kasi perfunctory yun eh. You have to go down, show your face, and that's it. And then kung may pumunta, may kumpul-kumpul na pupunta, few thousands. But right now, it's having an effect. The ground war of Leni, every time you go to every time she visits a particular province, city, the numbers there go up. There's a hunger and interest towards Leni. Whether that awareness develops into conversion, hopefully it will be fast. But what she is doing right now is doing the groundwork, which is very, very tedious, mahirap, and that's why we need a lot of surrogates going out. And the best surrogates are the people in the neighborhood. That's why, you know what, I don't know if you're familiar with testimonial ads. Imbis na yung kandidato nagsasalita, yung testimony ng isang taong magsasabi. That's what House to House is doing. You're doing testimonial ads for Leni, and that should be scaled up. The problem with House to House is really scalability before, but right now the scalability is being done voluntarily, willingly. Sometimes, and most of the times, without even the support of the central campaign. And so that's doing well. You only have a few days left. Leni cannot go to all the 81 provinces, so many thousands of municipalities in the country. But the House to House will do that. In the areas where the vote-rich provinces, I'm sure Leni will be penetrating, will be visiting those vote-rich provinces. Even areas where they claim to be the bailiwicks of the Marcoses, for instance, Ilocos Region 1, I'm sure she will be visiting that. And Mindanao, she has visited already. In fact, her numbers in the last February survey was in Mindanao was 5%. Now it's up to 14 or 15%. So there's a huge jump. Calabarzon, she has jumped higher. They're more or less equal with Bongbong now in Calabarzon. The more bailiwicks, the more regions that you are able to overcome, that's where we should be doing, and that's a role that's being played by all the volunteers. Our challenge is not awareness. Our challenge is not momentum. Our challenge is time. Our enemy now is time. can we do enough? And that's why, just don't ask the question anymore. Just do it. Kung baka parang Nike timing yan, just do it. And just go out house to house. And bahala na si Batman. I mean, we've done all the best that we can do. I know, for instance, of one family friend whose mom goes to Batangas. She's a retired executive of a company. She just does house to house every day. Hindi kaya ni Leni on her own. We are her voice, we are her hands, we are her feet, we are her loudspeakers, we are her mouthpieces. So we are carrying Leni talaga. So that's our job right now. So 27 days, tomorrow is going to be the 26th day. Let's do the best that we can in the remaining days of the campaign. And who knows, we may yet do a miracle. This is something phenomenal if it happens, if we're able to overturn. This is a lead. For the first time, you have someone having a lead beyond the 50s majority. And right now we're at 24. We went into this campaign with eyes wide open na mahirap ang laban. But kakayanin. Kaya natin yan. Di ba? Kay Leni tayo.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for that very inspiring message. And sobrang na-motivate kami to even double up our efforts. And talagang, sir, like you said nga, di ba, wag na natin questionin. Kasi even VP Leni herself has said numerous times na mananalo tayo. And we're really looking forward to that miracle and that victory in the upcoming May 9 elections. So having said that, sir, maraming salamat po ulit for taking the time to talk with us. And like you, sir, we're really holding out hope. And sana talaga this May 9 elections na the last man standing will be a woman. Thank you so much, Sir
Correct.
Edwin.
Salamat din. Salamat din, Erwin, and to your listeners and viewers.